Here is our tea tasting today. We haven't done a tea tasting in a while. From Nepal, it's a first flush from the June. How do you think you'd say that?
Chiyabari.
Chiyabari. Very good. And biolaique in French means organic. This is from the Camellia sinensis website, and I've had it a little while. It is a black tea. So one of the first things I noticed is it says 95C and boiling is 100. So this is to be brewed not at the hottest temperature. And I wondered about that, and so I pulled the tea out. Look how lovely it is. Why do I get so excited about lovely teas? But you see, some of it has some more green to it. And we know that generally green teas take a lower temperature. And so this is black tea, but it's got a variety in it. Like you see, I had to pull it out onto my tray. That one there has kind of got a green to it. Ooh, I see fuzz. You know what? When you're doing tea tasting, always take out your phone because you can't see the fuzz with the bare eye. And fuzz is a good sign of a really good tea. But this one here is more of a black tea. So I pulled out, we have different size pieces. It looks very much like handmade instead of machine made, which I kind of like. Isn't it beautiful? It's been so long since we did a tea tasting, I couldn't even remember how many grams. Did a brain fart. But I've got it at 5 grams. I think that's what I did for all of them, just so I have a standard comparison. And look at that beautiful tea. Oh man, these aromas are so complex. We can't figure it out. We're doing our best. I'll share my notes later, but here's what the wet looks like. Oh, you see some of them have fully opened, and you do see it's a mixture of some green and some darker. So it's not, I don't think it's black, even though they call it black. But I like it. And here is what the color of the liqueur looks like. The liquid. I don't know why we call it liqueur. It's not liqueur. It's liquid. Anyway, it's got yellow in it. Let me look. We'll look at my notes later, but we went with the color husk, which I don't get very often. How fun is that? So this is about, what, our 5th steep or so, and we inadvertently brewed it too long, and that happens sometimes, but that gives us a chance to see whether it's a forgiving tea, as we call it. And this is the darker color. You can see it's, well, my husband just said more of an amber. I mean, I still think it's husk and not golden, but it is deeper color. And I pulled out, here's what the leaves look like after a whole bunch of steeps. And I pulled out some so you can see. So I like this one because it's a whole full leaf. But then here you see we do have some stems in here. And I just pulled out some random ones. This one's broken a little bit, and there's some smaller pieces. It's definitely a bunch of different sizes. So we found this one in there, and it's on one stem, and it's got 2 leaves. So I think this shows that this is from the first flush, the first 2 leaves. I think it means a good thing. And then I get this one, which is a little piece of a stick with a partial leaf. There's such a variety in here. We have been playing with our food.
Don't tell.
And the verdict was unforgiving. In fact, we couldn't drink it anymore. We had to scrap that one, and we decided these little packages are supposed to be sample sizes. So they contain enough for 2 brew sessions. So we're going to go ahead and spend some time this morning brewing the other half, and the other half is 5.4. So it's actually a little bit more than I thought we'd get, which is cool. Here are my tasting notes for the Nepal First Flush June Chiyabari. And there's a picture of the tea. I got this from CamelliaSinensis.com. Date June 11th, 2022. It is a black tea, only as we discussed, it is actually got a lot of less oxidized tea in it. It's more of a green. So they actually have a website, which is fun. I just love how visible this estate is. You can go onto their website and see a lot of things. They also have some cool photos from their Facebook page, which I grabbed these 2 off of their Facebook page. Very awesome photos that they share on the internet, and videos too. From their website, they say they're a family-run tea garden, that they were established in April of 2000. And you can read some more information there. That's about the sea level. And I know sea level affects the taste of tea and how close to the sea and the elevation, which is the sea level. But I have nothing to compare it to tell you about it. So it says the garden was planted out of small plots with small patches of high quality cultivars. And they received the organic certification from IMO Switzerland in August 2012. And they've been planting organic tea since 2001. Here is a snapshot of it on Google Maps, and the first thing we noticed was we love when where the tea is grown shows up on Google Maps, and look at the zigzag of the road. Can you imagine driving on that road? Now, we could have just gone straight through. I'm imagining it's because of the hills, maybe. But how fun is that? And this is where it is at, zoomed out. And I love that you can see the snow-covered mountains, the Himalayan mountains. I did find this sentence online that Nepal is like the Darjeeling district in India because it's located high in the Himalayan mountains. So that is super cool for a comparable taste. That is a shot from a YouTube video on their website, kind of showing the mountains. And I zoomed out even more to give you a perspective to other tea growing regions on the planet. You know, China, of course, the most prominent, Taiwan, and then all of these in here we get tea from. And India and all of this area here. This is where Japan, most of the tea in the world is grown. And so we see for processing, it is rolled, and from their website, they show that they do have some rolling machines. This is First Flush. It has some greener and some darker leaves, so it's a mix of oxidation. Here's a picture from one of their videos. I just love that when you can see how the tea is made. And this is a tea processing center. And my first thought is that making tea is an art, and that this is a lot of work by a lot of people. So that's a lot of just sitting and playing with the tea, I guess, so to speak. And from the website, the Camellia sinensis website, uh, it says it's a lush garden in the Dangkuta region of Nepal. Um, and the grower is Mr. Orchard. I love that. It says it's a complex liqueur as a lovely fresh attack with floral, herbaceous, and forest flavors. And so we'll see how that compares to what we thought below. And the aromas progress to woody notes with a touch of nuts and bark. Oh, I didn't get nuts. No, I wish I could think again. So there's the date of harvest and elevation and whatnot. Orthodox tea. Here's what we smelt. I said it was a very unique mixture of smells combined well of floral and wood and fruit and herb. I mean, normally I don't get that many smells, and actually I should write in here dry aroma, and this one was the wet aroma notes. So and then I wrote, I'm not really sure. I could go vegetal too. Oh, that's because herbal falls under the vegetal category. So it was very complex. It was fun to sniff and try to figure it out. It did smell really good, and we wanted to think spice, but decided it was herbal rather than spice. We were actually kind of thinking cinnamon, but then took that out. Definitely complex. Lots of categories. I don't know if I've ever had a tea with as many categories. Now, the wet aroma, I wrote, wow. I mean, we were just like blown away. It smells so good and unique. Maybe it's just because it's been so long since a tea tasting, but wonderful. Very vegetable. I'm thinking butternut. So as I'm smelling, I'm trying to figure out what I'm smelling. So I was thinking butternut. For the herbal, I was thinking a thyme. I was thinking thyme. And we got some thyme out of the kitchen, and I think I was right. For the floral, I was thinking honeysuckle, and then that kind of really hit the nail on the head, because for the fruit that I was picking up, I picked honey, and honeysuckle kind of went together. For the woody, I said it's not oak, it's not cedar. We couldn't figure that out, so we just went with wet tree bark. I see, so complex. Like I could just focus on one part of the scent and try to figure it out and never figure it out. And the second steep, though, it was more wooded than floral and herbal. Oh, hey, did that go with their notes up here? I think so. Isn't that interesting? And I found this on their website. I'm not really into Zen because I'm a Christian, but I love the comment about no dependence on written word. It is grasped by mind-to-mind transmission and must be attained through patient practice. That kind of described how I was trying to describe the sense of this, the aroma of this complex tea, and could not. So, in other words, it can't be put into words. You have to just experience it. So, here is the tea on the color spectrum that I created of teas, and we went with the husk. You see the husk is right here, and there's a picture so you can see it's not golden, it's not yellow. Husk yeah, I don't get husk very often. The body, I went with medium, and I have 3 categories for body. Astringency, the first steep, the astringency was very likable. I put it in bright light. I like that category. The second steep, it seemed more astringent. Maybe the top of the category number 2, or the next. I should put that a little clearer. You read this the next day. You have to edit your notes to make sense. Unforgiving. So I did, as you saw in the video, inadvertently brew it too long, and bam. Uh-oh. No, I did not like it at all. It was not a forgiving tea. Forgiving tea would be one that still tasted okay after I inadvertently brewed it too long. And that's kind of something I look for. That's not anything other people have done. That's something I created for myself to evaluate tea, because I prefer forgiving teas. And there are some out there. So the taste, I think it tastes like it smells. So that's a good sign. It did smell in the dry, the wet, and the taste the same. So that is a characteristic to me of a good quality tea. And it was just as complex. But I did think of floral first, and I'm not usually a fan of floral. But this one was pleasant. This was my initial thoughts. I think it is because honeysuckle is a sweet floral. And then my second steep, my first thought was that it was more wooded. So it changed to wooded, which is now, I did not read those notes from the website above. It's interesting that I followed what they thought. But then again, it could be more herbal. I wasn't sure. It certainly changed how it smelled and tasted. And then for the finish, I put drying. The first steep, it was the finish was airy and soft. I really loved drinking the first steep, but subsequent to this first steep, it was drying. My throat just really pulled in, and like all the saliva went directly out of my throat. It's the direct opposite feeling of juicy, which a lot of teas we get are juicy. There is a little bit of tannic bitter in the finish, but it wasn't too bad. I only gave it 3 hearts, and now the 3 hearts really isn't anything negative about the tea. I could tell it was a high quality tea, other than the pieces weren't all cut the same and there were sticks in it. I just do love it so much to certainly buy it again. I just do not. See, here's my notes. I mean, yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of it. I wouldn't, I might buy it again if it came along, but it wasn't one that I'd like rush out to gotta buy it again. The second steeping session, when I was not thinking too hard, I got more and more of floral, which is not in my favorite taste palette, and we ended up putting sugar in it in the end. And I tried to not use sugar. That's my whole goal of finding teas that I can drink without using sugar. So that also knocked that down for me.